Now, although I like getting up to mischief and having a little bit of fun with this podcast, I'm reading more and more about how the technology that rules our lives and makes it much, much easier is actually causing more problems to our well-being. And I guess constantly looking at friends' highlight reels and carefully curated news feeds is partly responsible for making people anxious, questioning their self-worth, the value of their life, and also leading to a number of mental health issues. And wherever you're listening to this show in the world, we all have problems, days where we just don't want to get out of bed in the morning, and deep down inside, we all know that perfect life on those Instagram feeds is just one big illusion. Because there is no such thing as the perfect or idyllic life, but this message can be incredibly difficult to deliver when you're seeing all those images of seemingly perfect lives posted every day. But I am a solutions rather than problems kind of guy, and I find myself thinking, what if technology could solve these problems that it created? So Dr. Zain Sikafi is the CEO and co-founder of Minerva, which is an online therapy service that provides fast and confidential access to mental health counselling, all via a live video platform. But as a digital pioneer for mental health services, Zain has been listed as one of the top 10 rising GP stars on Pulse Today. He was also recently featured on BBC World's Talking Business programme, explaining how technologies like Minerva can help working professionals overcome the barriers preventing them from getting the support for their mental health problems. Now, as regular listeners know on this show, I do love busting myths, tearing down walls. And today let's tear down the stigma of mental health. And I think today's interview is a fantastic story that needs to be shared. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to London so we can speak with Dr. Zain Sikafi, the CEO and co-founder of Minerva. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Great. So thank you, first of all, for having me. My name is Zain. I am the co-founder and CEO of Minerva, which offers fast access to a therapist via live video, confidentially, securely and discreetly.
Fantastic. Now, mental health is a huge topic right now, and for a very good reason. And I very first saw you, I think it was on BBC News, talking about this very subject. But can you just tell people listening why you were invited onto the BBC and so many other platforms, and also highlight the scale of the problem that we're dealing with here?
Absolutely. So, I mean, my background is I am actually, funnily enough, a fully qualified GP, and although I've been in tech now for just over 4 years, I still do practice, and I was finding that increasingly a greater proportion of my workload was mental health related. And I'm not just talking about, bipolar or things that would usually be associated with doctors, but I include low mood, stress, anxiety, relationship problems, things that people deal with all the time, things that affect everybody. And the more I looked into it, the more it was a bigger problem. I found that, close to 3 out of 5 GP consultations were for mental health nationally. The Prime Minister's report on thriving for health in the workplace showed that the cost to the economy every year is 99 billion. It's a massive cost. It's affecting 91 million working days lost because of mental health. 40% of the workforce suffering with presenteeism, when that means people going to work but suffering with their symptoms, and that directly impacts their lifestyles and directly impacts their income. And so these were really massive issues on a full spectrum across the board, from affecting the individual to affecting families to affecting the economy. And so I applied what I knew in terms of enabling, that telemedicine type approach, and thought, well, you know what, if we could provide a service that was accessible, that was available to you after 5 o'clock and before 9 a.m., outside the working hours, that you didn't need to go to, that you didn't need to tell your employer about, that you didn't need to tell your spouse or anyone else and worry about the stigma, because the stigma really was a key issue, then I felt that was a game changer. And a year on from that, we're definitely seeing that the idea is gaining traction, as you saw in the BBC World interview.
Now, some will say that technology is playing a big, big role in the increase in our anxieties and also the increase in mental health problems too. But as a digital pioneer for mental health services, can you tell me a little bit more about the story about how you turn to technology to help solve these problems rather than add to them?
That's a brilliant question. In terms of, myself, I think I had to make, back when I started in technology and I first worked in, my first startup, I had to make that mental transition from being a doctor to not just, it's not about becoming a businessman, because it's not about business. It's about using that entrepreneurial approach to solve a problem and getting that product market fit. So I really believe in the lean startup methodology, because what you're essentially doing is you're saying, right, this is the product. Now, my users, my people that I want to benefit from this product, show me and tell me what works and what you want. And iterating, quick enough to be able to demonstrate that your product is incorporating those features that are going to work. It's like, having an iPhone or an Android phone, when you download the latest version of a software, you're not worried about it being 100%, the thing that you're looking for. There's going to be updates, there's going to be improvement, there's going to be bug fixes. So we listened to our audience. We listened to the users. We knew that stigma was a real issue. So we made the service discreet. We made it so that, you didn't need to download anything. You just click on a link and you're able to see the therapist. We knew that timing, accessibility was a problem for our users. So we said, right, let's blow that open. Let's make this available to 11 p.m. at night. You don't need to be an emergency to access a therapist at night, because at the moment on the NHS, unfortunately, the only time you can get therapies from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. After hours is just for emergencies.